What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Viewer Takeover, where we film every single Monday night. We bring it to YouTube every Tuesday morning, night, afternoon, sometimes Wednesday, man. You know, I'm a busy dude. My name is Brian Paul from the channel right here, and the gentleman with me, as always, the stunning, the sexy, the Illuminati, Dave from Dave Station VR.
This is the first time I've been accused of being the Illuminati.
Not just accused, you've been outed.
Okay.
And
if anybody else wants to sign up, let me know.
Oh yeah, you just have to like make triangle shapes and stuff, and then we'll get the message, man.
Yeah,
we'll send you right.
Just hit me up, and I'll get you guys in.
That guy in the far right hand side of the screen, AJ from the Underground, PSVR Underground.
What's up, man? How you guys doing?
Same shit as always, dude. Like, you know, making videos about PlayStation VR. You'd think it was my job or something. Fucking ridiculous. Yeah. Of course, the thing we like to do here on Viewer Takeover first and foremost is thank a bunch of people, and the first person we want to thank. Or Seek.
Or Seek.
That's right. For that amazing Viewer Takeover introduction. Guys, do you know he did that on an actual 8-bit NES emulator?
All right.
That's incredible.
Was pretty amazing.
That is very, very cool. I gotta say, though, only one character? There's only one character?
Yeah, okay. No, Dave's kind of right here for that. It's kind of a 0 out of 10. But the idea was there. It's the thought that counts, or Seek. And it also matches, just got this in today, the Pixel Rip 1989 T-shirt.
Nice one.
That's a bunch of 8-bit era stuff. That's what got it all started for me, man. That's where it all started, with that Mega Man 2 goodness. So yeah, it was great to see. That was actually really good, Orseek.
I thought you were going to say the Master System. It was strangely the Master System that started it all for me. You don't hear that too often.
No.
So thank you very much, Orseek. That was an amazing introduction. Very cool to know that you did that on an actual NES emulator. Guys, we have some Viewer Takeover intros in the queue. As you know, we're trying to get through them week after week, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't send us yours. You want to get in that queue so you can get on the Viewer Takeover introduction as soon as possible. Make sure you send those to withoutparole@gmail.com.
.net.
So random. What was it? Was it Expedia.com? I always get that stuck in my head.
Expedia.com.
All right, jeez. Guys, another thing we like to do here, more people we like to thank. Of course, these people. These people down here are the illustrious, amazing, stunning, the fluffiest of the fluffy game cats, as we like to say. They're the ones going to patreon.com/withoutparole.
Games.
And they're giving us $1 or more every single month. Guys, if you don't know, now you know. The only way to support this channel is, well, there's a bunch of different ways, but the easiest, best way is to go to patreon.com/withoutparole.
Game.
I'm just going to make you say it like 5 times. I'm just going to keep on
saying
it.
I love it. I'm ready.
I think there's a glitch in the Matrix today, because I keep hearing things get repeated, and I'm like, am I losing my mind?
Yes.
Or okay.
A little bit of column A.
As long as I know that.
What's the Patreon again?
Patreon.com/withoutparole. No, there you go. Really nice. So that's the best way to support the channel, guys. I do this, literally, it's a full-time job for me. I don't do anything else, so I live and die on your generosity. So thank you very much to everybody down there on that list who went to patreon.com/withoutparole.
Fucking A. I'm gonna fucking jump out my window.
Dave says I'm ready, and then he just like bails. Love it.
Hey, I was ready last time. I had Tree Guy, but
all right, and now.
Do it again.
Now, AJ, real quick, usually this is when I throw it to you and I say, guys, if you want to really support the channel and show your allegiance as one of the many game cats out there, which, of course, loyal following Without Parole are the game cats, go to YouTube, go to Google, change your name to something the game cat. No one did it this week, or at least no one told us they did it this week. So my editing is going to be my editing job is going to be way easier. Still gonna update that. I still gotta update that Patreon list though. It's gonna be a little bit of work. So make sure that if you do change your name, let us know in the comments below. #GameCat, so we can give you a shout out on next week's show. Dave, what do we really do here on the show though?
You know what we really do is we take 3 to 4 or 2 to 4. We take a number of questions from the community submitted via YouTube or Discord and one time Twitter, and then we just answer them all, and we just talk for way too long and go on tangents.
That's right.
That's the show.
So make sure you hit that Discord link in the description if you want to join our awesome Discord where this kind of conversation happens 24/7. And then there's a viewer takeover channel there where you can leave your question. All right, guys, first question comes to us this week from Billy Paw, the Game Cat, from PSVR this week. He says, after seeing the Sony prototype for finger tracking, I started wondering how I felt about controls in VR games, feeling more like real life and less like games. What are your thoughts on the video demonstration on this and potentially being used in Moves 2.0? Hashtag viewer takeover.
I like it. I'm totally for something like this. First of all, the technology, the idea of it is pretty cool. When I think of Sony releasing a PSVR 2, naturally being the whatever you want to call it that I am, I kind of have high expectations for the way that it's going to feel and look.
I think it's cool. The only thing is, finger tracking for me seems more exciting when you're gripping than when you're. You see him in this thing, picking up stuff with his fingers, right? There is no haptic feedback there. There is no feeling of grasping a thing. You just sort of like hope your fingers are lined up right, and you sort of act like you're holding it. And it's like, I don't know, there's nothing tactile about it. And I feel like that's going to be the shortfall for me with those kinds of controls. Like in Boneworks, for instance, on PC, they showed off the finger tracking a bunch by having you had a crowbar and you'd run your hand up and down it and tap your fingers along the side. That's coming into contact with the controller where I would imagine there'd be haptic feedback. If you're just off in the world doing little pinchy stuff and your hands are just not even touching the controller anymore, I feel like that's going to end up being unsatisfying. Like, it seems cool, but then you're missing that sort of interactive quality about it.
Yeah, I think I'm totally on board with you. Exactly the same. I think that's why the move controllers feel so good in games like Catch and Release, where you feel like you're holding a fishing reel, where Beat Saber, where you feel like you're holding lightsabers. Like, this all makes sense, but to actually just be like doing stuff where it doesn't feel like you're touching anything, I feel like maybe we're getting the cart before the horse a little bit. We need to make sure we are able to feel that before we utilize finger tracking to this extent.
I feel like it's almost a thing where you got to go to like a glove system or something, like a haptic glove. But then that puts you in a situation where you don't have a tracking stick, like an analog stick. You don't have buttons or anything. So then you're losing out the other half of everything. So I don't know how you really get to a good middle ground there. But
so what if? See, this always gets me into a weird situation because I start feeling really, really old when I'm like, man, I just want analog sticks on my move controllers. Like, I just want this. That's all I want. I don't need like anything crazy. But then I'm like, well, what if that's just like what we're so used to, right? That's like what we've been doing for years. It's like, oh, we have controllers with analog sticks. And so it just seems like such an old man mentality to be like, oh, just give me the easy answer. If Sony has like
attach the old thing to the new thing and just give it to me like that,
right. Especially if Sony has like a bigger, grandiose plan on like what they want to do. Like, maybe they have a better solution for moving forward. Like, that analog sticks aren't the best solution. And looking at something like this,
I don't think we're going to beat analog sticks unless you're like, if you have unlimited space and you're fully tracked everywhere in the world. I mean, inside out tracking will get you halfway there, but the amount of space you have is always going to be an issue. So you can't just walk. That's not going to work for anybody. There has to be some kind of locomotion system, and I feel like sticks are just goddamn the easiest way. Everybody knows how to use them. We've been using them for decades, like arcade machines stick. It's what people are used to.
I like this stuff as a feature. First and foremost, I just want games, man. I just want deeper, bigger games. And I understand that we have to kind of take it slow and get some of these experiences things, and little things like this can enhance the experience. But I want this to, at the end of the day, be a small part of a bigger thing, if that makes any sense. They also, I don't know if you guys noticed, but they also filed a patent for like something that was showing like the possibility of full facial tracking. So I love the idea of being able to, and of all the finger tracking stuff, this has been like one of my favorites that I've seen, like having a physical thing that can trace it. It just feels like more solid in terms of like the way it can trace your fingers. But also with the facial expressions, being able to do that, to me, the finger movement and then actually just patents, of course, but having like being able to have an actual like facial expression mimicking what your facial expression is in the game. I think these are really cool features, but I just want them to kind of be like features, unless there's some way that you can make a really cool game out of them.
Really cool expensive features on top of that. It's like we're
Yep.
as
Yeah.
console gamers, we're always looking for the next big greatest thing that's not terribly expensive. Like that's sort of like the console MO for the last 30 years, right? It's like, yeah, you can go PC, but that's gonna be crazy expensive. It might be better, but so just like, I don't know if they have to reel back their expectations on PSVR 2 or what's going on. But I think the real thing here, like one of the questions that this raises is that I feel like the closer we get to next gen, people are getting more and more divided into two camps. It's like hey, I've been playing video games my whole life, and this is just a more immersive way to play things that we've never experienced before. This is just a really cool way to play video games. And then there's the other half that are like, dude, like if you're holding a gun, you need to like manually reload it. If you're doing this, you need to be doing this. Like anything, I want it to be as close to reality
on
as
their
possible.
floor when they play video games. There are people who are like, "Oh, it's so great! You got to crawl on the floor," and I'm like, "How is that? What's the great part about that?"
Depends
I don't
on the
wanna
game, right? If it's super hot or blasters, I'm like, I get that, but I just I'm not really of the mentality where I'm like, this has to. I still want to be playing games in VR. I don't want to just be mimicking real life constantly, and I don't think either camp is right or wrong, but I do think that. That like moving forward it's going to be a constant struggle. It's going to be a constant question. Which game is made for which audience?
It'll make for some cool smaller experiences, being able to like snap your fingers or something and like a fireball pops up or something like that. But that's not going to be what makes a game good at the end of the day. It's just going to,
Figured I'd try it.
like you said, it's going to have to depend on the game.
Yeah.
It's going to make for a better experience, but it's not going to make for a better game.
It's true. It's true. All right, guys. How about we move on to the next question?
All right.
2.
We've got IXRXV.
That's gonna be Roman numerals of some kind, right?
I think so.
I don't
R
know.
is not a Roman numeral, is it?
9.
You got me.
I have no fucking idea.
I think L, M, X, and V, and I.
We have
Maybe-
Final Fantasy
Maybe it's 9R15.
X5. I feel so stupid right now.
This is versus 17.
Yeah, versus this is the next Final Fantasy coming out. It says in the Discord, #viewer takeover, how would you guys feel if the PS5 came out with a Steam Workshop like feature where the community, users, and content creators can upload and download content for their favorite games? Example, mods, skins, maps, etc. Personally, I feel as if PS5 came out with a feature like this, it would be revolutionary.
Would it be?
Sure, I guess, but I mean, it's never going to happen. It literally will never happen.
Well, it's because it's a closed source thing.
Say
right?
again?
It's because it's closed source. It's not open source, right?
Well, I mean, the main thing is like consoles. The whole deal with a console versus a PC is stability. Everybody gets the exact same thing, and it all runs the same exact way on everybody's console.
Right.
If you start adding in mods and different stuff, you don't know how that's going to affect the way the game runs. Like on PC, that's okay because, say, for instance, Skyrim, people
Sorry,
up all the resolution and they make like a super HD pretty version of Skyrim, but you have to have the stats on your PC to run it. With a PS5, it's all the same thing. So when you start fucking around with stuff like that, Sony's not going to want to let you tweak stuff like that in their games. I think most console manufacturers are like this, where it's just like, you got the game, that's what it is, that's the game. I think on PC, people love to fuck with stuff, and they have the opportunity. They can hack in and, put stuff in the code and change things. PS4, PS5, that's
They're
never
rarely satisfied, right? Like we get our shit, we're like, this is amazing. They're like, oh, how can we make this more?
Can I play this as SpongeBob? They say.
Yeah.
It turns out, yes, they can.
Exactly.
Yeah.
RE2 remake, SpongeBob edition.
Right.
But
Seriously.
so I mean, it would be interesting, but it's just not. I just think it's never going to happen. It's really not feasible.
It would be interesting. I mean, and for anyone who is interested in it, I would love for you to get the thing that you want. But it's not something I'm interested in, and I think that just kind of has to do with, I don't know, maybe it's what we're doing. Maybe it's having to basically consume every piece of PlayStation VR content there is. So once I'm done with the game, I'm like, the last thing I want to do is be like, oh, how, what did some random person out there do to make this slightly different? I'm like, well, no offense, but I don't personally care. I've always been like, I want to play the game that the game designers made for me. If you want to make something different, then go make your own game. Just like go do something else, and then let me know because I'm interested in checking it out. But I don't know, small little tweaks and stuff like that. It's like, all right, cool. But a week after a game's come out, I've got to move on to the next one. So I guess I don't really have time for that kind of stuff.
I think that the closest thing is Dreams, really. Community, users, and content creators. Oh, is that what you're about to say? Go ahead, Andrew.
No, you nailed it. You nailed it. But no, that's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say that's, don't just to give you a little bit of hope, depending on how much support Dreams has, this could have that little community around it. Now, if it ends up being just like some limited, tilt brush style, cool painter style thing or 3D art thing, then not so much. But if you can actually make some legitimate games in Dreams, hell yeah, there's going to be some kind of little VR community around this forming. And they'll have like their website. Rec Room already has this. Rec has rec.net. There's a couple of these things that are already in the works. There's just nothing like super mainstream, super revolutionary, like you maybe are seeing in the future. But that could be something in the future for sure.
Yeah, I think when PlayStation 5 rolls around, man, like obviously, Dreams came out much later than anyone would have expected. So I mean, they're obviously looking into bringing it to PlayStation 5. I think we saw an interview recently where like one of the developers said we've already got it running on PlayStation 5. So that's obviously a thing that's happening. So I'm sure whatever limited capacity PlayStation VR is going to be supported on PlayStation 4, they're just going to blow the doors wide open on PS5. And I think that's when we're going to see some. I mean, Dreams developers are already doing stunning things, but seeing it on a PlayStation 5 in VR is going to be like a whole new world. It's going to be awesome. What do you think? Should we move on to the last question?
Sure. All right. This one comes to us from Rypop, good old Rypop, one of our mods over there on the Discord. And he says, #viewer takeover. Oh, happy birthday, Rypop. Yeah. It says, why has it taken you all so long to see Ready Player One? What did you think about it? Do you think it hurt or helped VR? Stay breathtaking. This is in reference to the fact that I told everybody on the Discord last week we all watched Ready Player One together.
Yeah.
AJ and I hadn't seen it before. Brian, you have it on Blu-ray, right?
I saw it in the theater, and then I bought it on Blu-ray, and then I don't think I ever watched it even when I got home.
Yeah. So we all sat down and roughly simultaneously watched it together. So we haven't really talked too much about our thoughts yet. What did you guys think?
The setup was amazing. I remember that the first half hour or so, I think I sent you guys a text and I was like, I like this way more than I remember liking it. The setup was so great, and it was telling this pretty good story, and it was roping in all sorts of things that I liked. And then soon after that, I started drifting off and losing interest. But the beginning was amazing, right?
I think the first half of the movie was really, really good. And not to say that the second half was bad, but it kind of lost some of the substance that it seemed like it was building up to. It was cool to see it was interesting to me because it was kind of like a mix between it was almost seemed like a movie that was kind of targeting a younger audience, but had so many old school references, to adventure and all this different stuff. And that most of the people watching this probably wouldn't understand these references aside from a couple things. So I think it had I thought it was really cool to see some of the references and stuff, but yeah, it could have been a little bit stronger from a story standpoint, but the story overall is pretty good. And overall I enjoyed the movie. I did. I think it's a good just fun popcorn flick, and that's it.
It's a fun popcorn flick, although sometimes it's not so fun. There are some tedious scenes that run for really too long, like that reminded me of Lord of the Rings, that battle at the end where there's just like every character you've ever heard of in the world, and there's like a group of Halo guys and like all the Overwatch characters, and it's just like this massive, stupid battle that isn't really exciting. It's just like a way to trot out new characters. I will say the Godzilla bit was all right. The Mecha Godzilla versus the Gundam. That was kind of fun.
Well,
But
but that
for the
also
most part, it
plays
just seemed
into
like a
that also plays into like who you are, right? It's like you have
exactly
right.
yeah.
So some people don't have like that history with Mechagodzilla, and they're gonna be like, I don't fucking care about this part, Where it's so I think different parts of the movie probably touched on different people in different ways, because that's not anything I'm like I've got a history with, so I was just like, whatever.
Yeah. So for sure, as far as like, do you think it helped or hurt VR? Is part of his question here. I think it's not something you can say 100% because in a way it hurts VR because it gets people this idea in their head that VR is gonna be like that. And honestly, there are so many things that don't make sense that would not even be technologically like they just ignore stuff and paste over stuff where it's like, how would a person in real life be doing the thing that they're fucking doing right now? Sometimes they have to jump and do real flip kicks in real life. Other times they're just standing there. I don't know. Like it doesn't all fit together. So I think it gives people this idea of like, oh, it's this utopian. You can do anything in VR, and it's going to be crazy. You live your whole life there, and it just seems so seamless. When in reality, we would never, unless you jacked your brain into something and you thought you were doing all that stuff.
One day,
like if you have
one day,
if you
Well,
have
he was running on a treadmill.
Some of the
and
time
had
he
like
was.
the
Some
full
of the time he
haptic
was running.
suit and stuff.
Other times he wasn't running. On
Yeah, he was like hanging. He was like
was
hanging
totally
from wires.
Yeah. So it's really
Plot
like
holes.
yeah.
There's no rhyme or reason to how this even works. So I think it gives people an idea that like, oh, look how cool this technology is going to be that hurts VR. Because if you think about it, most of that shit's never going to happen. It's totally unrealistic, just from like a user interface perspective.
Well, when is this supposed to take place? It's like, was it 2040 something or?
Yeah, something like that.
I don't remember the exact date,
Yeah, it
but
actually was.
I figured
It was-
20 years, man. VR is going to be wildly different, and it's going to be way more
It
seamless.
will be, but like if you're sitting in your little RV that he lives stacked on top of other RVs, with it, he had like a 4 foot by 4 foot play space or something like that.
Yeah.
The stuff that he was doing is I can't even think of like how are you supposed to do that?
They'll find a way.
I wasn't
They'll find a way.
expecting this movie to be realistic, so I wasn't like questioning, all that, and that's why I say it's just like a fun
Virtually
popcorn.
realistic.
That's why I say
Yeah.
it's just like a fun popcorn flick because I don't go into this movie expecting something realistic, really.
Yeah. I mean, just
Yeah.
to clarify, man, like I'm not an action movie guy. So if I say anything negative about the big fucking crazy action sequences, that's the reason because they
No,
were
I
well
am an
done.
action movie guy, and I thought that was a weaker part of the thing. So
It was,
you're not entirely wrong there.
Good.
To me, it seemed like a really high budget video game cutscene the whole time.
Yeah.
Except for when they came out and back into reality. And that was kind of jarring a lot of the time because it's like, this movie is entirely CG. Whole thing is fucking CG. And then all of a sudden, there's some kid that you got to look at his stupid face. And you're like, yeah, right. Well, I was getting used to the whole virtual reality business. But
Yeah. I don't know. As far as if you removed all the action stuff and I was just basing it on like the stuff that like would have grabbed me in any other movie, I thought it was a well told story and I thought it was enjoyable. It brought together things that the two things I love more than anything, which is VR and retro games. It's like this has my name fucking stamped all over it, and I'm really happy about that. And it's such a great book, and I think they did a pretty admirable job getting it to the big screen and being able to get all those licenses together to make.
oh my God.
I mean, it must have been a
Dude.
fucking nightmare to do that.
The
So-
license, well, no. Whoever pulled those strings has the money and the connections to make it not a big deal. But that licensing budget could fund a small country for like a decade. I guarantee you. That shit is insane. This like unnecessary at a certain
I don't
point.
think there was any Mario in there. Anything? Was
that's
there
true.
anything? Was there
There was
anything
Nintendo.
Nintendo?
No Nintendo stuff.
Yeah.
But so to address the first part of Rypop's question, you kind of reminded me there. He said, "Why is it taking you so long to see Ready Player One?" For me, it was the thing that you said, Brian, where you thought it was made specifically for you. I don't like when I feel like something is like pandering in a way where it's like, oh, you love retro games and technology and sci-fi stuff, right? How about this thing chock full of references to all those things that you love every 2 seconds? It just like overloading you with references and nostalgia and all this stuff. And it's like, I like this stuff, man, but it's not my identity. I don't need to like, I don't want it this way. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'm being sold a product where I'm the target audience and they designed it just this specific way.
Oh, you
to be
are.
like, oh, he'll like that part when the Mechagodzilla comes out. I guarantee you, shove it in there. And so it's just like a checklist of like, throw everything at the fucking wall and we'll trigger everybody's nostalgia, euphoria thing. And it just feels like I'm being taken for a ride. You know what I mean? Like I'm being manipulated almost. And that's why I put it off for so long, because people were like, oh, I love this so much. It's like great. I love VR and it's the perfect vision of the future and all this stuff. And it's just like, I don't know about all that.
Other than VR, it's a pretty dismal look at the future.
Well, it's
right?
People are overlooking the fact, people who love this movie and the Oasis so much forget that it's a dystopian. This is a dystopian world. Mm-hmm. Like nobody's having a good time down there.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I mean, to answer Ripop's question, for the last 3 years that VR has come out, I don't watch as many movies anymore. So I have like a huge Blu-ray collection that I had started working on, and I had everything from Die Hard to Grave Encounters, Brian. And I just don't watch as many movies as I used to ever since VR, because that's really day to day gives me this amazing experience. Get to hang out with these two ragtag fellows, and then of course have the community that I love to hang out with all the time.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to answer the rest at the end of Ripop's question and say that I think it helps VR because it's just really, when you look at the percentage of PC owners that have a VR headset, when you look at the number of PlayStation VR owners that the difference, the ratio, I should be saying, it's such a small number. Right. So this, like anything that like kind of highlights VR in a pretty positive light and saying, man, the future is going to be great and VR is going to be part of it, just makes me smile and go, that's awesome. And so I think
that's where people get that whole "we're not there yet" thing too. People have this fantasy idea of what VR is going to be based on stuff like Ready Player One. And then when you show them a regular PSVR game, they're like, it's not there yet. This isn't good enough. This isn't the thing I saw in the movie. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, well, some people are dumb.
I agree.
So, and I try not to talk to those people.
Okay.
Yeah. My dad, by the way, says it's just not there yet. So sorry, Dad. I didn't mean to call you dumb. Yeah. But all right, you guys, I think that does it for another episode of Viewer Takeover. I'm going to get a text message about this one. Make sure you send your Viewer Takeover introduction to withoutparole@gmail.com. Also, submit your questions over on our Discord server. Click that link in the description. Join our Discord server. Leave your question in the Viewer Takeover channel. Also, hang out and chat with us. Make sure you support us on Patreon. Patreon.com/withoutparole.
Games.
Not saying it anymore.
God damn it. You're the one who told me to keep saying it.
I'm done.
Don't know what to do. Don't know what to do with you anymore. And with that, thank you very much to everybody who watched. Thank you to all the Game Cats who changed their name next week, so we can give you a shout out next week. #GameCat in the comments next week. My name is Brian Paul. This channel right here. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, AJ. Thank you, Cats. We're out. Want to make a silly face? Anybody? A silly face contest? Dave, whenever you're ready.
Fuck off.